many days to Halloween?
7 more days till Halloween. Halloween.
Well, that's
7 more days till Halloween.
that tune.
Shamrock.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the movies we're not going to talk about this week.
Not this year. That was from Halloween 3. Anyway, we're recording this 7 days away from Halloween.
Yeah.
It's the Horror Guys.
Yay.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're going to talk about some horror movies.
As usual, we've got 5 movies and 5 shorts, and a couple of these are pretty good, and a couple of these are just terrible.
The shorts?
All of everything. Yeah, that's a global statement.
Well, I don't know about terrible. Well, okay, yeah, you're right. There are a couple of... Yeah.
You look closer at the list,
Now that I'm
didn't you?
looking closer at the list that we have, yeah. And it's all new stuff, so we're just going to give you a little taste. We won't fully spoil them, but you can check out other places to see the full spoilery synopsis.
Yeah.
Where can they do that?
HorrorWeekly.com.
HorrorWeekly.com.
Yes. Or if you're getting a little behind on your emails, you can go to HorrorMonthly.com and pick up the whole month's worth of reviews.
Nice.
Very conveniently. Mm-hmm. But we've got movies this week. What do we got?
We got Alien Romulus, that new Alien movie that came out this year.
That went to streaming fast.
Yeah, it did, and it's coming out to Blu-ray very quickly too.
Okay.
And then we got the new Beetlejuice.
Which came to streaming even faster.
Yep. One called Don't Turn Out the Lights, which was also known as Blue Light. There's a double title there.
Well, I think in America, Blue Light probably brings up Kmart associations.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
nothing
they
to do with
changed it.
Kmart.
Yeah. And a werewolfish thing called Blackout.
And I went into that blind. I thought it was, something like The Purge. What
Oh,
happened
okay.
during a blackout.
No, it's
No,
not that.
it's werewolves.
Yeah, and the semi-Western. I'm not going to say Americanized because it takes place in England
The
still.
English language
The
remake.
the English language remake of Speak No Evil, which was a Danish
A
film.
movie we both said we didn't really want to see.
Because
We'll see how that
that's
turned
not
out.
going to work because it just wouldn't work in English. It's,
But first up,
yeah,
Alien Romulus.
Alien
2024.
Romulus. Uh-huh.
What is this a sequel to? Well,
Alien.
it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated because there's been all those Alien movies.
And Prometheus movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Alien versus Predator movies.
This one actually takes place between Alien and Aliens, the first 2 movies.
Well, how they managed to pull that off.
I thought they managed it pretty well.
They did.
Yeah.
Directed by Fetty? I have no idea. I've read his name 1,000 times. I've never
heard it said, yeah.
Directed by Mr. Alvarez. Written by Dan O'Bannon, who's been dead for like 15 years, so I don't think he actually wrote it. Probably characters created
Created by.
Monsters created by.
Uh-huh.
Ronald Suchet and Fetty Alvarez. Stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, and Archie Renault. Hour and 59 minutes.
Nice and long. And
It's a
worth it.
long one.
Yeah, I liked it.
Spoiler free, we saw this at the theater, which we rarely do. We are the streaming horror guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then again this week at home, and we enjoyed it both times. It's not a perfect movie if you think too deeply about the physics, or any of them really, and some of the character choices. Well, dumb people do dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
These are not geniuses in
And
this
they're
one.
under pressure, and they're not professionals, and yeah.
But it is thoroughly entertaining. David Johnson is especially good, giving us another view of one of the artificial humans who can actually be extremely human. Well, if they're programmed right.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of the Alien movies, this is one of the better ones, and you should check it out.
Even
Nope.
if they're programmed wrong, they're still bad. I mean, they're still human-like.
Yeah, if you read any of the reader opinions on this, though, it's either the best of all the Alien movies ever or the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Very little in between on this one.
Yeah,
They made some choices.
they did. Yeah. Shall I tell them a little taste?
Give us a take. Okay, all the movies this week, again, are new, so we know you probably haven't seen them, so we're not going to spoil them to death. Just give you the first 10, 15 minutes as a chapter.
Well, we open on a dark spaceship that suddenly wakes up, similarly to the film in the first film, the first ship that was quiet and then woke up. But this one is an automated ship, and it has found the wreckage of the Nostromo, That was the ship in the first movie that was destroyed by Ripley at the end of the first movie.
And we don't see anybody. Maybe the ship was automatic entirely.
I think it's entirely automated this time. Yeah, and it brings aboard a chunk of metal on board the ship, and then says mission accomplished and turns around, and credits roll. Well, we continue on with the chunk, and it docks into a space station. The thing is cut open, and we see inside it's the remains of an original alien xenomorph.
The original alien xenomorph.
Well, not the one.
The one from Alien.
Well, no, she shot that one out the airlock.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that one.
It is that one.
You think
there was no other one?
Well, she was way, way away from the Nostromo.
You are a retcon, dude.
Okay.
Don't get your facts too organized.
That's not how I interpreted it. I thought that there was just more on the ship, the Nostromo.
No.
And that she missed, and she left behind.
Well, I guess you could argue it that way.
Oh, that's what.
I don't think that's what was intended.
Oh, well, okay. Anyway, it's a xenomorph.
Yes.
On this station. Well, somewhere else, Rain wakes up. It's time for her shift on a mining planet, Jackson Star, which, it's mentioned, gets no daylight ever.
It's a fun place.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. Well, she sits with Andy, who is a little slow. He knows all the bad jokes and puns. Rain goes into the office for her off-world planet travel papers. She's got her quota. She's put in enough hours. She can leave, but the clerk changes the rules on her. She's stuck for another stint of years.
Because what can she do about it?
Yeah, it's basically slave labor that this company is doing to people. Well, as she comes outside, she finds a bunch of punks beating up on Andy, who it turns out is a slightly defective android. This is an android that her father had basically found in the trash and rebuilt. And he's a little off. And he kind of has a seizure, and so she reboots him. And he's good to go again.
The first time we see Andy rebooted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got this thing where if he takes much damage or impacts at all, he goes into this seizure kind of state, and he's kind of helpless.
He's fragile.
Until he's rebooted. Well, he is and isn't. I mean, because he's got the strength too and speed somewhat. But, yeah, he's not right. Yeah. Well, Rain and Andy go to visit their friends, Tyler, Kay, Bjorn, and Navarro, who have detected an abandoned ship in orbit of their planet. And rather than wait for their travel papers, they want to steal that ship, which probably has working cryo units, and run away to another fully terraformed colony. And they need the cryopods because it's like 9 years away. They can't be alive on a ship, and awake on a ship that long. Did they say 9 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they need Andy to access the system and get them inside the ship. Sounds like an easy plan. Nothing can go wrong, right?
That's what they say.
Well, the group steals a shuttle and blasts off into orbit. Rain sees the sun for the first time. The derelict ship turns out isn't a ship. It's a giant research station that's slowly drifting into the planet's rings. And they've only got about 36 hours before the station is destroyed.
No problem. What could go wrong?
Well, it turns out this is the station where they brought that xenomorph.
Yeah, one thing leads to another.
Why is it drifting adrift, seemingly, with the power off and nobody on board?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to spoil it any more than that. But if you want to read the full spoiler, the entire synopsis, beginning, middle, and end, go over to horrorweekly.com, and it's week number 304. And you can get spoiled on Alien Romulus. Well, my opinion, why would anybody do anything with a jerk like Bjorn?
He is a jerky young man.
First of all, he's the only person on the show that needs subtitles. He's got one of those really mush-mouth British accents from, I don't know, I guess he's supposed to be lower class.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hardly understand a word he says. You're not disagreeing.
No, I thought he was okay, as far as his voice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a crackhead would be nicer and more reliable to work with than this guy.
He's a jerk.
Yeah. A lot of the tension of the film seems to come from the 6 cast members yelling over each other. Because these are young people, and that's the only way you can make tension with young people.
Well, they're young.
Everybody yell at once.
And things go badly. Yeah.
Well, this one takes place 20 years after the original Alien film, and 36 years before Aliens. don't forget how old Ripley is there at the end. Mm-hmm. A lot of the plot revolves around running from one place to another on a space station.
While being chased by aliens.
They may as well have had Doctor Who versus the Xenomorph. There's just so much running in corridors.
There is, yeah.
It does nicely tie in with the regular Alien films, along with the Prometheus story, using that black goo that came up. And as Kevin already said, the standout actor here is David Johnson as Andy. Every little mannerism is robotic and alien when he's simple-minded, and then when he's upgraded to genius level, it all still works.
Yeah, it does.
Overall, it's very good. I have a hard time believing that zero-G acid scene that we didn't spoil, but the rest of it mostly does work. I'm not going to say it's the best Alien movie, because the first one is.
I'm going to go as far as to say it's my third favorite.
I will too, after 1 and 2.
After Alien and Aliens, yeah.
Yeah. It's good, but it's not the best.
And they're, again...
It's not the worst.
They're heavy on practical effects.
Yeah.
Which I think really helps a lot.
And they went out of their way to make it look like the equipment in the first movie, because it mostly is in that time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that same vibe.
Yeah. I like it when sequels look just like the original.
I like that.
Could that be a smooth segue into our second movie?
It could be.
I'm only going to say it twice, because 3 times a charm.
Don't say it 3 times.
Beetlejuice, 2024. Directed by, oh my goodness, it's Tim Burton.
It's Tim Burton
Who saw
again.
that coming?
Yeah.
Written by Michael McDowell, Larry Wilson, and Alfred Goh. Stars Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara. An hour and 45 minutes.
Tim Burton had said he would only do a Beetlejuice sequel if Michael Keaton came back and did Beetlejuice. And lucky, that worked out.
I think that would probably be really hard to recast.
Yeah.
Although there was a cartoon that was voiced by a completely different actor.
Yeah, we won't speak of that.
Did you ever see any of that?
Enough to know that I didn't like it.
Okay, I don't think I ever actually saw it.
Yeah, it wasn't a patch on the movie. Yeah. Well, spoiler-free, they brought back several of the main characters and introduced some new ones, which made a nice balance. Though Brian, he's mentioned that he felt some of the extras weren't really necessary.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. It was amusing how hard they worked to have Jeffrey Jones both return and not return for this role, for his role as the dad. They kept the look and feel of the first one, same humor with a foundation of horror, and it's very well made. You'll probably enjoy it a little more if you've seen the first one, but it's not vital, and we thought it was a fine sequel.
Yeah.
Not quite as good, I don't think, but very good.
It was good.
Very good, yeah.
Well,
I loved the first one. I liked this one a lot.
We absolutely do not have Jeffrey Jones on this podcast. Although he probably will make an appearance, because that's the way this thing is. They show his face over and over and over.
They were working very hard to keep him in it and not have him in it. I think it was
always a slap in the face.
Both
or,
a slap,
a dig.
a dig, a slap in the face, a joke, all combined.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like we know we can't have this guy back, but
and
he
for
kind
those
of
of
is
you,
anyway.
And for those of you who don't know the story
Why
of that,
can't we have him back?
Because he was naughty. Jeffrey Jones was busted for being a pedophile. He had a large amount of pornographic material with underage people in it, and he hired an underage person for nude photography.
Well,
And
we
he
should kill him
barely-
off in the beginning of this movie real quick then.
He barely escaped doing hard jail time. But yeah,
Did he escape?
I don't.
Okay.
He didn't actually
Well,
do
not
hard
escape,
jail time. But I mean, there were consequences financially and
Never working
career-wise,
again in
certainly.
Hollywood,
Yeah,
yes.
career-wise, yeah, that was the end of his gig. Yeah. So anyway, here's Beetlejuice, and he was necessary to be mentioned.
Actually, by getting rid of him, that's really what sets the whole movie in motion. It's sort of the main plot that everything else circles around is what happened to him.
Yeah,
Well, we will get to it here in our
a bit. Yeah.
short synopsis. Well, we fly over a very familiar-looking town with familiar-sounding music. We've been here before. We eventually zoom into a strange-looking house with a strange-looking woman looking out the window. Hey, it's Lydia, and she looks like an older version of the girl from the first film. I mean, same clothes, same hair, same makeup style.
But there's a reason
She
for
didn't
that too.
grow out of it.
Well, it's because she's cashed in on it.
She's now the host of Ghost House, a psychic TV show where she investigates hauntings. But then, in the middle of taping, she sees a flash of Beetlejuice. Her producer, Rory, calls for a break. She's on pills, which she says she needs to suppress her visions of the dead, and he doesn't like that. But since he works for her, he has to live with it.
Mm-hmm. And she's not a fraud. She really can see the dead, but she don't like it.
But it's one of those TV shows, so everybody just assumes she's a fraud.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Lydia then gets a call from her mother, Delia, who is now a famous artist. She casually says that Lydia's father has just died. We then get a claymation replay of the crash that killed Charles. Actually, it wasn't the crash. It was the sharks afterwards that got him.
Chomped him right into.
And this is just a very, very funny way of saying, oh, you remember this guy? Mm-hmm. He's dead.
Yeah.
Well, the artist that Delia has been working with has an accident and ends up in the afterlife. The janitor of the afterlife, who looks a lot like Danny DeVito, has an accident that breaks open a box that contains Dolores, a woman cut into many parts. She then staples herself back together and then sucks out whatever's inside the janitor. And, I mean, she's not like a vampire drinking. She goes...
Yeah,
and he just shrinks him right
vacuums out their souls.
Yeah. Well, we then cut to Astrid Dietz, away at school, who gets a very weird visit from Delia and Lydia.
This is Delia's daughter, Lydia's granddaughter.
Back in the underworld, Bob wakes up Beetlejuice, who is still pining over Lydia. And Bob is that the guy with the little head from the first movie, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've seen him in all the promo stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Bob wakes up Beetlejuice, who's pining over Lydia.
He's pining over...
Is he like the manager of the customer service department or something now?
Beetlejuice?
He's over all the all the Bobs.
He's over all the Bobs. Yeah, I think so.
Actually, you weren't at the very closing credits. They showed all the Bobs have different names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
they're not all Bob.
No,
yeah.
Well, they may as well be. All right. Well, we cut to Wolf Jackson, who is an actor, who played a detective in many films, and now he's playing a cop in the afterlife, which makes zero sense, but it's funny because it's Willem Dafoe, an actor who's playing a cop. But later on, we see they have scores and scores of dead actual cops. Why?
And he's the boss of the actual
all
cops.
of the afterlife, they couldn't find one good detective who's a real detective. Wow. Bureaucracy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, Wolf shows Beetlejuice a photo of the stapled-together woman. He says that she's out for revenge against Beetlejuice. She's a soul sucker. She gets hands on you, and you're dead. Okay, so an actual threat.
Nobody comes back from dead.
We get a flashback to human Beetlejuice back in the 1600s or something like that. He's a grave robber during the plague years. That's where he met Dolores.
And I was thinking at first, I didn't recognize
Was that him? Yeah.
And I was thinking, damn, he looks so old. And and then I realized, oh, yeah, Keaton is in his 70s now. Yeah. But as Beetlejuice with the makeup, you don't see that difference as much. He doesn't look
You see it some.
You see it some, but he doesn't look as aged from the first movie to this movie. But in his human form, yeah, I was thinking, what? That's not Keaton, is it? Oh, it is Keaton.
Well, real Michael Keaton doesn't look that bad.
No, but he looks old. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, the two got married, Dolores and Beetlejuice, and they had an unusual relationship. Turns out she was the leader of a soul-sucking cult, and she and Beetlejuice ended up killing each other.
Yeah, she poisons him, and as he's dying of poison,
he cuts her up with the axe.
He chops her up into pieces.
Well, now she's back, and she's out to get him. So at Charles's funeral, Lydia and Astrid talk about Astrid's dead father. We see that Astrid doesn't like Rory, the producer, who's also Lydia's boyfriend, because he's weird and exploitative.
But she doesn't see that.
Rory then proposes to Lydia at the funeral. He wants to get married on Halloween in just 2 days. He's a pretty good manipulator, so she's too, introverted to argue? So she goes along with him.
Yeah, she goes along with it, yeah.
Well, Astrid rides off in a huff on her bicycle and is nearly killed 6 different ways. Traffic is rough in this town. She eventually crashes in front of Jeremy, a nerd in a treehouse. She explains that she doesn't believe in ghosts and all that stuff. And then she goes home with him and sees that he's got a copy of The Handbook for the Recently Deceased.
And by going home, it's in his yard. I mean,
Yeah.
his house is right there. Yeah.
Well, the two of them then make plans for Halloween.
We should stop.
We should stop there. There's lots going on.
Yeah.
That's just
Hilarity
getting started.
happens. And, of course, Beetlejuice is still obsessed with getting married and to Delia.
Lydia.
Yeah.
Delia's the mother.
Yeah.
The whole family gets
Hilarity-
in on it. Yes.
Hilarity ensues. Yeah.
Well, they went to great lengths to write out Charles Dietz as a character, so much so that it became a joke in itself. And then they showed his face on the tombstone 3 or 4 times, and there was a painting on the wall. He's all over this movie without actually getting paid for it.
And he's, unrecognizably chomped in the afterlife.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway, Adam and Barbara from the first movie just barely get a throwaway line about moving on. So, yeah, the two main stars of the previous movie they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How does Winona Ryder look 35 years older, but Catherine O'Hara looks exactly the same as she did in the first film?
Mm-hmm.
There's such a thing as, I don't know.
People age at different rates.
I guess.
Yeah. I thought that time has been kinder to Catherine O'Hara. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's probably like 70 or 80 don't know, but
She looks good.
Yeah.
Well, there's an IMDb for
They,
that.
yeah, before I get hate mail.
What is Catherine O'Hara's age? Catherine O'Hara.
Yes.
Talk about something else to fill.
Well, she was in,
fill
I
the
don't
dead air.
know,
She's
Saturday
been in
Night
tons of
Live
stuff.
or SCTV or something like that in the early 80s. I remember seeing her there.
She was born in 1954. Yeah, she's 70 now.
Okay.
She looks good for 70.
How old is Winona Ryder?
In her 50s.
Not in the 80s?
Huh? No.
Okay.
No.
Well, we picked on them enough. Let's pick on Jenna Ortega for a minute. Does she play exactly the same character in every film she's in?
Yeah, she just shows up.
Yeah, I think so. Well, anyway, it's still fun, but the problem here is there's too much going on. They had a lot of stuff that they might have skipped.
Winona Ryder was born in 1971. So she's 50.
53-ish,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Too much stuff put in. Dolores and Wolf, for example. I mean, she's the main villain of the story, and he would probably be, I guess, the secondary villain because he's trying to hunt everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But they're useless. They don't. Dolores is on screen for maybe 2 minutes, and Wolf is totally just a fake anyway. He's just an actor,
Mm-hmm.
and neither of them really add that much to it. Beetlejuice is a bad guy, or they could come up with something supernatural after him or something. These two characters did not do it for me.
Well, and they were no match for Beetlejuice. That was part of the problem too. They were kind of his adversaries, but he hopelessly outmatched them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still fun, but again, it's got some issues. The makeup, practical, and CGI effects are all top level good stuff, at least in comparison to the original. It's the same kind of stuff. Claymation sandworms, not top,
The same look. And,
Yeah.
And same humor.
But everything here is extremely visual. It's a very good-looking movie, very colorful, lots of stuff going on. Overall, we thought it was a very good and worthy sequel.
Yeah. 90% of the original.
I would watch it again. I have no objection to watching it again sometime.
Yeah, same here.
Well, that takes us to 2024's Don't Turn Out the Lights,
One I would object to seeing again.
also known as Blue Light. Written and directed by Andy Fickman, to his shame. Stars Bella DeLong, Amber Jania, and Daryl Tofa. Hour and 49 minutes. Trailer on the show notes. You go ahead and watch that trailer. Save yourself a couple hours.
Spoiler free. An annoying group of young people run into dark forces that conspire to harsh on their buzz of good times on a road trip. It was hard to root for them. Boy, but we got through it. And as you might guess in such movies, not everyone makes it to the end of the movie. You can see this coming. You know how these go. We'd say you should watch it to find out who, but we really wouldn't recommend it.
You don't care who.
Yeah, it was just on the tedious side and generally not really very good.
That's rough when Kevin Harsh is on things.
Yeah. Well, and by the end of it, it started having. I mean, it's not quite a Lost in the Woods thing, but it's that Blair Witch level of magic.
Uh-huh.
They're screwed. no matter what they do. No, these forces are just too powerful, and you don't understand what these forces are, and that's about it.
Okay.
But they're getting picked off, and stuff happens.
Carrie talks to a creepy little girl in the park. She gets a jump scare from her friend Gabby. And here's a spoiler. That little kid has nothing to do with nothing.
No,
Nope.
not really. No.
It's Olivia's birthday party, and Chris is there, stoned and ready for the party. It's 6 minutes in, and Kevin says he's already hoping for all of them to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
When Sarah shows up at Olivia's invitation, Carrie wishes she would die too. They're all going away for the weekend together. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll at the Blue Light Music Festival.
That's where the title comes from.
Yeah, and it's only a 10-hour drive away.
That's okay, because they've got an RV.
Yeah, Michael and Jason show up in an RV, and they're all set to go. It's a road trip movie.
Yay!
Jason is an ex-Marine, and he seems way more serious than the others. Which one did we watch not too long ago that had the same kind of setup? The ex-Marine was actually the crazy one?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh.
We see too many of these.
Yeah. They stop for gas at one of those creepy country stations. There's a couple of rude old white guys who pick on the girls. A scuffle breaks out, and Jason wipes the floor with them. This soon results in the RV being chased by the redneck semi-truck. Oh, that other movie? Summoning Sylvia.
Oh, yeah.
With the
that's
tough
right.
Marine guy.
Yep.
Carrie wants to call the police, but the others talk her out of it. There are too many drugs in the RV.
Nice.
That's a problem with having drugs in their RV. You can't call the cops when you need them. Well, they took a detour to lose the bad guys, so now they need to take an unplanned route to make up for the time lost. Shortcut.
Yep, never do that.
Carrie flirts with Jason afterward. They lose the GPS signal, so they just sort of have to guess at the route.
And they have to use a paper map. How archaic.
Do you even have a paper map in your car?
No, but they did.
But
it doesn't seem to be helping.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the group stops at a redneck bar to ask directions, and Michael, who is black, stands out in this crowd. The bartender, Rusty, warns them to turn around and go the other way. "We're closed," he says in the crowded bar.
Harbinger.
So was the implication here, was it that they were all racist, or it's just, oh, look, outsiders?
I think it was just more of a look outsiders. And
He took it pretty personal afterwards.
They were being overly sensitive about it, but I don't think they meant anything racial by it. They just, outsiders and, you kids, we're warning you, turn around.
I think they purposely kept it vague. You
Yeah.
could take it one way or the other.
Yeah, it could be.
They all get back into the RV and drive on until they hit something. Michael admits that no one knows he borrowed the RV from his uncle, and he's really worried about damage. The RV is broken, but no one has a cell signal to call anybody. Michael goes out to see what they hit. There's nothing out there. But something happens to Michael outside, and only Olivia sees what it was. But she's no help. She goes into shock and passes out. Then they hear an animal making noises outside. Maybe. Yeah, it sounded vaguely human, though. Jason grabs a gun and goes out after Michael. Michael runs into something, and the RV people hear shots being fired. They soon realize that something really nasty is right outside. And we'll stop there. It's a bunch of people in an RV.
Yeah, and things happen.
Yeah.
Dark forces conspire against them. Yeah.
These people are loud, obnoxious, and scream entirely too much. I just talked about the characters in Alien Romulus yelling over each other.
This was worse.
There's 7 of them here.
This was worse.
This goes on for 40 long minutes until they remember that this is a horror movie and drive to get into town. The various characters are all stereotypical types straight from an 80s slasher film. Yeah, you've seen all these people before. You don't even know their names.
And you don't care to.
There's just way too much screaming. Not at a monster, but between the characters. I mean, we're talking scream queens in horror movies, but there's always screaming. But this is just non-stop shrieking at each other for all the freaking movie. Between the screaming and the loud jump scare noises, this might be the most unnecessarily loud movie I've ever seen.
It was way too long before the action started.
Yeah.
And then once it did, it managed to seem kind of tedious. It seemed,
Pick off the teenagers one by one with a thing that's unseen in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was loud and not in a good way. Yeah. I didn't care for it.
If you do decide to brave it, make a note. The loud. Better yet, turn it up loud in the beginning. You'll suffer later. Yeah, not my... Well, is this my least favorite of the week? I don't know, because there is some competition this week.
Let's go on for my least favorite of the week, because I didn't hate the next one like you did.
Okay.
Blackout.
Written and directed by Larry Fessenden, who's been in lots of good horror movies.
Yeah.
I guess he's starting to write and direct.
Cool.
Stars Alex Hurt, Addison Timlin, Motel Jen Foster, hour 44 minutes, trailer in the usual place. Spoiler free.
Spoiler free. Well, for being a werewolf movie, this didn't have enough monster and action. A fortunate bright spot is Alex Hurt in the lead. He looks good in the role and does an excellent job with it. The script kind of felt long and talky, a little skewed too heavy on the drama. And as I alluded to, I liked it better than Brian. And I think the votes are a moderate thumbs up from me. And you're giving it a thumbs down?
I would.
Yeah, okay.
As we met, you've got a community theater background. So you're into all the acting and the drama, and you probably have been in shows like this where parts were created just for your friends to join in.
Sometimes.
So-and-so's looking for a part. Well, we'll write him in. This one is just full of characters giving speeches that don't help the plot at all. It's like Larry Fessenden was bringing in all his... all his B-list
all
buddies.
The people that he knows.
Yeah, anybody who needs a union card.
Hey, you want to come into this movie for a scene? Okay. Yeah.
Because there's just a lot of that. One-off characters in one scene at a time.
Yeah, it's got quite a large cast, a larger cast than is necessary, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, a couple is out for their anniversary in a field under the full moon. Because if you're feeling all sexy, let's go out in the cornfield under the full moon.
And do it in the grass.
In front of the werewolf who attacks.
Oh, no.
Credits roll.
Yeah.
Well, we cut to Charlie, who is obviously an artist. He's moving out of his motel. We know this because he's covered in paint.
And there's paint all over and canvases and stuff.
Yeah. He's moving out of his motel room, and a woman outside says that they caught some Mexican who killed those kids out in the field. We know it wasn't a Mexican.
And he seems to know otherwise.
Yeah. Credits roll. Well, Charlie then confronts the mayor, Jack Hammond, about accusing Miguel of doing the murders. It turns out he's just racist against Mexicans, even though he's the one who hires them. That's kind of the way it always works, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Charlie's recently deceased father was partnered with Jack in the controversial new Hilltop Resort project. Charlie goes to see Kate, who's a lawyer, with some of his father's papers. He's found some questionable things on the permits that Jack got to build that new resort. They're crooks. He wants to bring down Jack and his shady dealings. She points out that Jack's daughter is also Charlie's ex, and he might just be holding a grudge.
It's both. It can be both.
It can be. I hate you for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Well, he stops in to see Sharon, and he wants to tell her that he's leaving town. He's also brought her a painting, but she doesn't put up with his crap this time. He's messed up inside, but she doesn't know how to help him. Well, on the way to Earl's place, Charlie stops for gas and notices that the full moon is rising. He drives on, getting more and more distracted as it starts to get dark. Well, we'll stop right there.
And up to this point, I was kind of wondering if he was just, a case of guild and, was he a werewolf?
You never can tell.
Was he the werewolf?
At one point, of course, there'd have been a monster in a rubber suit. But now, today, lately, so many of these are just, it was just the pills.
Is it a red herring, somebody faking it or, But it does become clear.
Yes, vaguely. We'll keep it vaguely clear.
Things become clear, yeah.
All right, well, this movie's got Charlie, who mopes around town for an hour and a half talking to various characters.
Well, it wasn't an hour and a half.
The whole movie was an hour and a half.
Okay.
And there are also some scenes of a werewolf.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of one of these things than the other.
Yeah, there is.
There's just far too many characters, and Charlie seems to want to talk to all of them. There's an animated painting style of transformation scene that was very interesting, but it's only about 30 seconds long. The other creature effects are pretty good. The lead, Alex Hurt,
Alex Hurt.
as Charlie, does a great job here.
Son of William Hurt.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I always get him and John Hurt backwards. I probably typed the name wrong.
Oh, okay. John Hurd? John Hurt. There's a Hurd.
They're both Hurt.
They're Hurt. Yeah, but there's a John Hurd out there.
Yeah, from Sharknado.
Further complicating things.
It's rough when the first thing that comes to my mind for an actor is Sharknado.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, Alex, as Charlie, does a great job here. But most of the other actors didn't really jump out at me, even the recognizable ones. Yeah, the main villain here, the mayor, is Marshall Bell. He was the guy in Total Recall with the alien in his belly.
Mm-hmm.
And many other things.
And lots of other stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not one to say every movie needs a car chase or a shootout, but this one was just far too talky with no real action. Even the werewolf attacks are mostly just quick flashes. The editing here was very poor, from one scene of something that might be good to another interminable scene of dialogue. The problem here isn't that the problem here is that it's not really a horror movie. It's a long drama with a werewolf in it.
Harsh.
Boring.
Okay, I wasn't bored, but I do think it was too long on the drama and short in the werewolf goodness that one should expect from a werewolf movie.
Werewolves should be brutal, violent, and featured in every scene.
Uh-huh, yeah. And there was just enough there to entertain me. Alex Hurd is good.
See, got you doing
yeah,
it now.
got me too. Yeah. There were enough good elements to keep it moving along for me. I liked it more than disliked it. So it's not my least favorite of the week.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's my least favorite of the week either. Don't Turn Out the Lights is clearly worse.
Yeah. Now, one that I was expecting to be worse, Speak No Evil.
Now, what did you think of the
English.
original, whatever, Swedish or whatever that one was?
Danish. Yeah, Danish. I liked it quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it worked because it was Danish. I mean, there's
Yes.
some elements to their personalities and their passiveness.
In the original
their
one,
politeness.
they're so
You know,
these bad things start showing up that maybe something's not right. We should leave.
they're so passive and
They're
so polite.
So polite.
But it's such a cultural thing that worked.
yeah, but people
that
in America
wouldn't-
are not that polite.
That wouldn't work for Americans. And
No.
I was thinking, how are they going to do that? This is just going to suck.
Well, the spoiler for this one is we did like it.
It did not suck. I would go as far as to say I liked it better than the original.
In a world where one or the other one didn't exist, I would say Speak No Evil is probably the better movie.
Okay, the first one, you mean?
Well, this is clearly the higher budget, better production values. I think the other one is actually better because it does make more sense, and it's different.
And it is
We're
different.
still talking about it 2 years later, and they made a remake about it because it's just so weird. Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I thought they did adapt it. I think the original one, though, that we're still talking about a couple years later, just because of how weird it was and how unique it was to that location, that wouldn't happen anywhere else. But they made it happen here.
They did.
Directed
Yeah.
by James Watkins, written by him, Christian Taftram and Mads Taftrup. I bet they were the original writers.
Yeah.
Stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, and Scoot McNairy. Need more people named Scoot.
Scoot. Yeah.
Scoot.
Scoot.
Hour and 50 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free.
After seeing the 2022 Danish version, like we said, we were skeptical that this could work because it's a Western setting and characters. They're American and British. But they made a few tweaks here and there, and we thought it was pretty effective. And surprisingly, pleasantly entertained by this. It's suspenseful and fairly realistic. The cast is good. Well, I say weed, but I'd rate it a bit higher than the original. I see your points on.
I
the
think this is
original
a
being-
better movie, but I think I'd like the original. It's more memorable.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
give them a little taste.
Yeah, again, I picked this one out and got it set up, and Kevin looks up from whatever he was doing. What movie is it? What is this going to be? And the credits come on, and he's like, oh this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I knew
neither
it was-
one of us really wanted to see this.
I knew it was inevitable that I had to see it. So with a sense of dread, but I ended up enjoying it.
Yeah, it was much better than expected. Mm-hmm. Ben, Louise, and daughter Agnes are Americans on vacation in Italy. There's an odd couple, Patty and Cara, yes. I'm going to keep saying Ciara because it's a strange spelling, but it's Cara Feld, staying at the same resort. Agnes is 11 years old, but she's also creepily attached to a stuffed rabbit toy that she's in the habit of losing.
And that annoyed me because it's a necessary plot point that she keeps losing the rabbit, at one point. But, I mean, she's just utterly attached to it, and neurotically, if she doesn't know where it is, she'll start screaming, literally.
And I think this whole scene here at the beginning is just to show us that the rabbit is that important.
Yeah, and yet she keeps losing it. Like, oh, come on. It's that important to you, and you don't know where it is at, like, every second of the day?
Well, Ben walks all over town looking for the rabbit, and he sees Patty and Cara everywhere. And they look like they're having a lot of fun every time he sees them. Mm-hmm. Their son, Ant, doesn't speak. At dinner, Patty mentions that he's a doctor, and they all get to know each other. There's an odd Danish couple there as well, and our group makes them really uncomfortable in a hilarious way.
Yeah, that was funny.
Were they the writers or producers, or were they somebody or just coincidentally Danish people?
Oh, I don't know. That would have been funny.
Yeah, it's a call out of some kind, but I don't remember now who those people were.
Oh, okay.
But back in London, after the vacation is over, Ben and the family get used to their new home. None of them really wanted to make the move to London, but work required it. So they're unhappy Americans in a foreign country. Mm-hmm. They get a postcard from Patty inviting them to stay with them on their farm in Devon. It might be a good change of scenery, but a week with strangers? Louise thinks they should go, so they do.
Oh, they were in the original.
Oh, who were they?
The Danish actors, the Danish people. That Danish.
Oh, they were the victims.
They were the victims.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I knew they had something to do with the original.
Yeah, they were in the original.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to stay with strangers for a week? Somebody you met for an hour, possibly?
No.
Hey, come away with me for a week in the country. Yeah, that's one of those things from the European version. Maybe they do that in Denmark. I don't know. That is kind of weird in America. Well, this takes place in Britain, but these are American characters from our point of view. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's weird. But they go and they jump in there and say, all right.
Well, they had a really good time on vacation.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Well, they arrive at Patty and Cara's large farmhouse, and I'm like, whoa, those people are loaded. That's a big compound.
It's big, a lot of buildings, yeah.
Cara shows everyone to their rooms, and Ant's room kind of looks like a little dungeon up in the attic. But Patty is loud, charming, and lots of fun in an overbearing kind of way. Ben is very passive and worn down, and the difference between the two men soon becomes really obvious. Mm-hmm. Louise is a vegetarian, but her hosts have made an elaborate goose dinner. Patty pressures her into eating it, which is kind of, what's that, food abuse?
Bullying.
Okay, bullying, yeah.
He's kind of a bully. Yeah.
Whenever Ben is alone, Ant comes up and makes mouth noises trying to tell him something, but since he's got a deformed tongue, he can't communicate. We soon see that their parenting styles are very different also. Ant is mostly ignored, while Agnes is babied and coddled. Still, maybe it's because Patty and Cara are British. Their ways are strange. Yeah, and I think in the original between, what was it, the Danish people and what were the other people, Finn people? Mm-hmm. Something up. Two of them countries that are real close together.
Yeah.
They're near enough that they would understand each other's ways pretty much. I mean, yeah, there's some foreigners 50 miles off, but they're close enough.
British and American is more of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, if I went to America and somebody made some British joke or something, I don't know that I would have understood it. The next day, the group hikes through the woods and swims in a cold lake. Louise is not happy with any of it, especially the stained bed sheets. It's still just a little bit too countrified for her. And I don't find them that pleasant to be around, she says, confidently. So they make an excuse to leave. For dinner, a strange foreign man comes over. He's going to babysit the kids as the two couples go out for dinner. He's strange and can't speak English very well. Definitely sketchy, but Ben and Louise decide to go along with it. Because, British people, it's different.
Yeah, and they're being polite and kind of on the passive side, yeah.
Ant tries really hard to tell Agnes that something is wrong, but he can't talk, and he can't write in English.
He tries showing watches. The dad, Patty, has a collection of very nice watches in a case. And
some of them have inscriptions in Swedish.
And she's like, yeah, it's watches. What are you trying to say?
Yeah, she don't know.
Yeah.
Well, dinner out turns out to be really nice, and Mike, who is a friend of Patty's, doing the cooking. And the British couple mention that they've been together for 17 years. Ben and Louise argue later about their own lack of sex and lack of mutual support. So they're not only wimpy people, they hate each other.
Mm-hmm. They're not getting along.
In the middle of the night, Louise goes looking for Agnes, whom she finds in the British couple's bed.
And she does not like that at all.
Their kids are in those strange people's bed.
Yeah.
Well, she gets Ben to pack up and leave right then. A mile away from the house, Agnes starts whining for Hoppy, the stuffed rabbit that she's absurdly attached to, and yet can't seem to keep track of. She goes into a full-on panic attack, and Ben has to decide whether to turn around or continue on to safety. And we're going to stop right there because...
I bet you can guess which he goes for. Yeah.
The dumb choice.
Yeah.
Well, this is an English language remake of Speak No Evil from only 2022, only 2 years ago. A lot of the original film dealt with Europeans being so polite and passive, and it's not going to work with Americans and Brits, although Ben is especially wimpy. It still feeds heavily on the awkwardness and just being uncomfortable. Boy, those people are pushy, and we're going to go along with it.
Yeah, they are.
It's very similar to the original film, but they ended up changing the last 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, the more it goes along, the more changes you start seeing.
Yeah, I'd say the first half is pretty much identical, but it goes off in its own thing.
Yeah.
The Americans do eventually fight back, which is something the original Danish people never did. The acting is good all around, and it's much more believable than I expected, having seen the original. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the changes they made to this version were pleasing, and that made it work.
Yeah.
All
right.
But, the thing with the girl and the rabbit and the...
Buy a new freaking rabbit and let the kid deal without for a little while.
Well,
she's spoiled. You can tell that.
She's kind of spoiled, but I was thinking as they drove away, it's like, oh, please just be the parents. tell the girl, sorry, we're going to have to live with this. We'll get you 2 rabbits, just, we're not going back, Anyway, enough of that.
Rabbit toy abuse.
Yeah.
Short film
We
time.
saw some shorts.
Yeah, we did. First one, Code Red from 2024. Written and directed by Jack Albert. Stars Thomas Albert. I'll bet there's a relationship there.
And I misread that. You're sure that was a different person? Okay. I thought they were all Jack Albert. I thought that the whole thing was...
Well, now you're going to have to look it up.
No, I am going to have to look that up.
4 minutes, 23 seconds, and there's a trailer. Not a trailer. You can watch the full thing on YouTube. But basically, an injured scientist wakes up, and he's bleeding pretty badly. He hears some gunfire, screams, and a roaring monster over the little handheld radio. Then he sees another scientist's body being dragged away. He accidentally learns that water hurts the creature. How's he going to use that information?
By using water, I bet.
I bet he does. Well, okay.
Oh, yep, you're right. Thomas Albert. Okay, I misread that. Yeah.
Directing his brother, probably, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not quite sure why the scientists have a locker full of glass water bottles, but I guess they have reasons.
It worked good for the plot.
The creature design and effects here are pretty good and fit the look of the film perfectly.
And it's kind of got a retro vibe to it, too. Did you notice the technology is very old and out of date? Yeah. Yeah, it was darn good.
It's the problem here, if you want to call it a problem, is it's very short. We don't know what happened or why, but it is a could be a well-made scene from a larger story.
It could be, yeah.
It's good.
Kind of left you wanting more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. Thumbs up. Check that one out.
Grampy is next.
Especially check this one out.
Written and directed by Graham Burrell. Stars Ralph Cashin, Gene Connolly, Cary Gallagher, and R.J. Pennington. 14 minutes and 15 seconds. And there's a link to watch it on YouTube. So is this your favorite of the week?
Of the shorts? Yeah, I'd go with that as my favorite of the shorts.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to on this one.
Well, Jenny and Cody talk at a grief counseling support group. Cody missed his grandfather. This was his house. You'll always have him being a part of you, she says. Well, he responds by agreeing. He's had his grandfather stuffed, and he's upstairs right now.
What?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, she finds this strange. And then we see Grampy, and suddenly Jenny is ready to leave. Except there's a crazy storm, and she has to spend the night in the room with the creepy dead man who's literally standing there watching them. And then it gets worse and worse.
Well, how bad could that storm have been to make her even consider staying? Because it was funny. Something as mundane as taxidermy gets creepy when it's someone you know. Still, the taxidermy is just the start of the weirdness here. The acting and cinematography are excellent, as is the sound. In this one, we eventually do get a full explanation of everything that's going on, and turns out that's really the best part.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's my favorite short of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Although...
this one was pretty darn good, too.
The Boogeyman. No, not just
the,
Boogeyman.
Just Boogeyman, yeah.
Directed by Valentin Lang, written by Valentin Lang, Seamus Quinn, and Lincoln Vickery. Stars Joshua Shediak, Libby Kay, and Shannon Ryan. 10 minutes exactly. All right. Well, in this one, two lovers make out on the couch. She mentions that she's caring for her roommate's many plants and flowers while the roommate is off on a work trip. They're making out. They're right there on the couch going at it, and she stops in the middle of kissing to put plant food on one of the plants.
Well, she remembers, like, oh, I forgot. This plant is thirsty. I got to get this while I'm thinking of it.
While she's getting that all together, Josh picks his nose and wipes the booger on the plant. Then she comes back and pours growth food all over that plant. You know, something's going to happen.
That's a bad combination.
Well, when the roommate gets home, she's going to have a hard time explaining what happened.
Yeah, she will.
It's very well done, funny, well-paced, and looks really good. The special effects and makeup effects are sharp. Although it's definitely not exactly a comedy, it doesn't take itself too seriously. I think it probably could have done without the up-his-nose cam. The CGI there was not great. The green tunnel.
Yeah, but it gets the job done. Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Next is a international one, Vanus, which means verdict.
Ooh. Written and directed by Walt Blatt. Stars Joki Slutz, Tibby Boone, and Dimitri Duquinoy.
And this is subtitled, but there's really not much dialogue in it. Not a lot.
Not a lot, no.
Yeah. Lots of time with Linus alone. Because he lives on an old farm. And he starts getting visits from his dead wife's ghosts.
We assume she's a ghost.
Yeah. Well, it's more complicated than that. And that brings up feelings of guilt and bad memories of her and a baby. Well, he dreams of finding their corpses and then sees Diane looking healthy and whole again. Or is he really seeing her? And is she what she appears to be?
My guess is not.
Yeah, she wasn't quite what she seemed.
Well, it's subtitled, but there's not much dialogue, so don't let that hold you back. And I'm still not quite clear on what happened to the original Diane and Ziegler.
Not completely. No.
It looks like their house burned down or something. Like maybe there was a war and a bomb, but that wouldn't have been Linus's fault, so why the guilt?
But something was.
Yeah. They're out dead in a barn or something. Well, maybe just survivor's guilt for the way it plays out. But overall, it was very good.
Yeah, it was a good one.
All right.
And then our least favorite short of all time.
I don't know about that.
Okay, my least favorite short of the week.
Called Scary Story, The Girl in the Woods Who Never Left from 2024. And this is by Fear Fusion. You know it's bad when they don't put their name in the front. Mm-hmm. And it's stars, well, kind of, yeah, it's not actually.
AI.
It's a PowerPoint.
AI PowerPoint. Yeah.
It's about 5.5 minutes, and there's a link in the show notes so you can watch this.
No, don't watch this.
Now, this
This
came up on my
watch
feed.
It and see what we're talking about.
And I watched about 30 seconds of it, and I'm like, no way. No way.
Mm-hmm. Yes way.
And then it went all the way. Oh, we are told a story about a girl who saw a scary ghost. The ghost is terrible and terrifying and warns the girl to lock her door at night. Why would the ghost tell the girl how to avoid her? Maybe the ghost isn't the girl's biggest problem.
See, I didn't watch enough of it to get that much of the story from it.
It's a very cliche story, which, you know, if you got an AI prompt writing a story from you, then did I say that out loud?
AI prompt? What? AI written?
I think
AI
everything about
generated?
this project feels like AI.
Everything.
Yeah.
The images, the slideshow, the voice, the writing. I couldn't even finish it.
Okay, well, anyway,
Yeah.
the story actually has too many typos to be ChatGPT.
Yeah, and well, it's typos too. Yeah,
Okay, so
it's
let's
just-
describe what this thing looks like. It's still frames and slightly animated stuff. It's basically a PowerPoint with some fancy transitions.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is spoken, but the words appear on the screen in subtitles, and as they speak, the individual word that they're speaking turns yellow, just like you're doing karaoke.
Kinda, yeah. So you could read along with it.
You could. And then the story, as I said, is very cliche and plain. Mm-hmm. It's like someone took an AI to make the story, then used that story to make some images, used that story to... Even the voice sounded like computer generated.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It's absolute garbage.
I imagine somebody somewhere came up with a prompt for this.
You know, and there's AI generated comments. The comments.
Mm-hmm.
Those are bots. Just obviously, fake AI bots that are.
And I think I know why. Why do they have all these guys? Because it came up in my feed, and I'd never heard of these people before.
It's
Those
a bot.
AI
So
bots and thumbs up bots that you're talking about gets its publicity, gets it visibility.
Yeah, it does.
Came up in my feed, so I gave it a shot.
It's
We don't normally pan
money
indie
grab.
films and short films. Usually you need to be held to a different standard than the multi-million-dollar blockbusters. We watched some pretty cheap-looking shorts and still complimented them. Mm-hmm. Some of these films are done by a single person with zero budget, but still...
If
Like that.
if it's real people putting real effort into it and really appearing, or at least making some real animation, that deserves some praise.
I think they knew it was
even
crap.
if
That's
it's
why
not
they didn't put their
great.
real name on it.
And this is just no.
The story is formulaic and cliche. That's not killer in itself, because a lot of horror stories are, retellings and new imaginings of the same tropes. It's not usually a deal breaker. This, it's pretty awful. The animation is basically a slideshow of images. I think maybe some of them are photographic, but maybe they're all done by AI.
They were
Certainly
all
some of them
AI.
are.
Nothing I saw was real. Yeah.
Well, the narration appears to be done by computer voice, complete with bad English and typos. There's a typo, if you see a typo in the subtitles, the voice will say the word wrong. So clearly it's just the script that it's reading. To make it worse, the bad English and typos are also on screen while being highlighted like karaoke, so you can say your words wrong in sync with them.
Nice.
Yeah, mostly, I wouldn't have put this even on here, but this was just so special, I wanted to troll Kevin.
I'm not even going to say anything else about it.
He took the bait. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really... I don't know, if you're concerned about AI, maybe you should take a look at this one and see whether or not you think there's anything to worry about. Is this going to take all the writers' jobs and kill off Hollywood?
If this is the best AI can do, no, we don't have anything to worry about.
It's got a long way to improve for this thing to even be good. All right, so my favorite of the week...
I'd go with Alien Romulus as my favorite of the week.
Oh, I really liked the original Beetlejuice. And this wasn't bad either.
Beetlejuice, it was very good.
Yeah.
That'd be my second choice.
I'm going to go backwards from you then. I'm going to go Beetlejuice first and Alien second.
And Grampy was my favorite short.
Yeah. Not much options there. All right. Well, that is it for this week. Tune in for next week where we will have 5 more movies and a short and some shorts. And somewhere in the near future, we've got to do a bonus podcast for the paid subscribers to weeklyhorror.com.
Excellent.
Horrorweekly.com. It's been 6 months and I still say it backwards sometimes.
Horror Weekly.
Everything is sponsored by horrorweekly.com. Because Weekly Horror is somebody else.
That's right. Shh, we don't talk about them.
Well, that's us for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next time around.
See ya.